Some very important aspects of distal radius malunion or malunion and complications have been highlighted very well by Dr. Tanna sir in his very lucid lecture. I will be speaking on some aspects of distal radius malunion. Basically, by definition, it is a non-anatomical consolidation of a distal radius or healing. So you can have extra-articular or intra-articular malunions, and it is associated with pain, loss of motion, loss of strength, deformity, occasionally nerve injury or tendon injuries. So this presentation, this appearance of a distal radius is very common following a plaster application of an extra-articular fracture. You will always see some shortening, some angulation, and some dorsal collapse. Most of these patients, they come to you for some other reason, and like this patient had fallen again and she came to me for some pain. I took an x-ray. She was not having any problems related to distal radius. So deformity is not of any concern in these patients. There is no pain. Pain is only because of some recent injury. So don't try to treat them. They are very happy as it is. Now, this patient was a 45-year-old dental surgeon who had bilateral distal radius fractures. The most important thing of in treating a distal radius fracture is to analyze the X-ray properly. Take multiple X-rays if necessary. Do a CT scan. Never do an MRI in distal radius fractures in the acute setting. Now, this patient had a very badly comminuted fracture on one side and not so bad combination on the other side, and he was not very keen on having any open procedure. So I treated him with a closed reduction and K wiring. As you can see, I have given him a plaster support to keep the wrist flexed. In spite of that, he developed a malunion, and you can see this is not a anatomical reduction or anatomical healing, but he has a malunion. But he was very happy. He had got excellent function, no pain. So we decided to leave it like that. He was not willing to treat. I was not willing to treat him, and he is very happy. This is a very important statement or a quote by Peter Stern, a very famous hand surgeon. So he says that I believe that the wrist range of motion is overrated. Restoration of forearm and finger range of motion following trauma to the wrist is underrated. So whenever you treat a distal radius fractures, remember that a forearm should be painless rotation, and your finger range of motion should be important, is very important. So this was a case where the fracture was not analyzed properly. There is a volar comminution, a percutaneous reduction, and so-called K wiring. In spite of giving a plaster, the plaster is also not correct. You can see there is a circumferential cast, and here the problem was not analyzed. It was not addressed. This was treated by a surgeon in Singapore, and the fracture gradually collapsed with severe problem. There is a painfully restricted supination, and the patient is not very happy at all. So another common cause of a non-union or malunion in a distal radius is to use a non-locking plate. If you are to use a plate for extra-articular fracture, see that it is locking. Otherwise, you will see that gradually this collapses and the screw ends become prominent, and you will have, unfortunately, like this, tendon ruptures. So as I was saying, malunion is very common. This is a 75-year-old male with full all medical complications. He was initially, because of the medical complications, he was treated with a sedation and a plaster. You can see excellent reduction on the first day, but gradually this fracture collapsed. It was going to collapse, and since he was an old man, everybody in the family also accepted that ठीक है, it is going to collapse, the fracture is healed. But patient had a painful forearm rotation, and he was an active gentleman, but he was not able to do any of the hand activities because his forearm rotation was very painful. So in these cases, the simplest thing is to do a segmental dissection of the ulna. This gives excellent results. If you do it properly, save the soft tissues, just excise that bit of ulna, and you can see that the ulna aligns automatically with the radius without any effort. You don't have to do anything here. Don't try to put in a screw or K-wire across the DIP joint. It is too much of an effort. This is a very simple surgery, and this is the pre-op. That is the 1 year post-op. The patient has got full range of motions. He is not bothered about the wrist of deformity. His hand function is normal, and this is 2 years post-op. Patient is able to do everything with his hand. Now, this was a young gentleman, a young fireman, who required his hand to be absolutely normal to do his duties. He was a government employee, but he was given a plaster. The X-ray was not analyzed properly, and it went on to severe collapse. However, he was having painful rotation of the forearm, for which I did ulnar osteotomy, segmental resection. Unfortunately, at that time, this ulna was quite unstable, so I felt that it may angulate too much, though it has come back in line with the radius. But I did an osteotomy and then put in a K wire across the thing to stabilize the ulna. And you can see that this ulna has completely healed in line with whatever requirements of the DRUJ, and patient has got fully functional hand without any pain in the supination and pronation. And that is his function at 1 year. So you can see this is a 50-year-old politician whose X-ray, I don't know for what reason, he was treated initially with these multiple K-wires. I think this is a very wrong technique or wrong surgery was done, and he landed up in a severe malunion, his grotesque deformity of the hand. He was having pain, but his hand function was normal. So there was no question of leaving it like that, because he was a politician. He was required to use his hand every day in and day out. So in this case, there was loss of strength, a very grotesque deformity. This was the volar approach was taken, and you can see a big defect. Being a politician, he was not very keen on having a iliac crest bone graft. So as a compromise, we used a synthetic bone, put in a plate, and it went on to heal very well. And you can see that in this case, fortunately, the distal radioulnar joint realigned itself. Otherwise, I may have to do a segmental resection of ulna to realign the ulna or to realign the DRUJ. And he went on to have a very good function, absolutely painless and very happy. In this case, this is again a very severe deformity. However, the radius is tilted laterally in this case. It was on this table also, it was impossible to realign this without excising the segment of the ulna. And you can see this is a very old case. We have not used a T plate or but this was a locking plate here. And this is 1 year post-op. You can see that everything has healed very well and it's got excellent function. So an ulnar osteotomy, a segmental resection of ulna, if you are not able to realign the DRUJ properly, can be done at the same time of the surgery. And this is another very significant cause of a malunion of the radius, is missing the lunate die punch injury. So in all these intra-articular fractures, you must do a CT scan, analyze the X-ray properly, choose the proper approach and proper plate. Now here, a radial approach is not good. You have to go, in these cases, through a carpal tunnel approach. And unfortunately, this patient was treated with a plate which was well short of the lunate die punch area. And the fracture, the lunate die punch was not supported, and the lunate started collapsing and started projecting anteriorly with median nerve symptoms. So this case was, the surgery was revised and the plate was put quite distally here, and the radiocarpal joint was realigned. Now this was a case who presented very late. He was a truck driver. He was also same lunate die punch injury, but he came so late that it was, everything was very stiff. The wrist was stiff, but hand function was fortunately normal. So I opened it and tried to realign it. It was impossible. Many times these lunate die punch injuries, if they come late, it is very difficult to realign the lunate back. You may release the capsule, you may do everything. Many times the lunate comes out. The whole wrist starts projecting anteriorly. So in this case, in a few cases, you have to do a thing, what we call as a buttressing the lunate only. So you buttress the lunate, the wrist does not look very bad. Patient has got, as I've said, wrist motion should not be given a lot of importance or predominance. You should concentrate on forearm movements and hand function. So in this case, at the same time, as the lunate was pushed back or maintained in position, so you do a segmental resection of ulna, and that went on to heal very well. The ulna also has healed, and this patient has got a painless rotation of the forearm. He is able to do drive the truck again, and with good function of the hand. Again, you can see here again a carpal tunnel approach was taken, and this plate was purposely put and so that the lunate was maintained in proper position. So many times when you have an intra-articular fracture or the wrist is very painful, the ultimate solution to all these problems is the wrist arthrodesis. Again, remember these words of Peter Stern: a wrist motion should not be given too much dominance or predominance, and restoration of forearm and finger function should be given a lot of importance when you're treating wrist patients. So this was a father of a very eminent surgeon. He had a very bad medical history, but he was active. He was doing all his day-to-day activities. But because of this position or the fracture healing in this way, he could not do anything. His hand was very stiff. So we opted for a very simple technique of wrist arthrodesis, and that is putting two curved wires from the base of the second and third, fourth metacarpal in this case. You can put it from the base of the third also. And you can see that this hand function is completely restored with the splints and therapy. And this is 3 years post-op. In this case, the ulna distal end was excised. This was not a segmental resection, this was excision. And you can see that this patient has a very good function at 3 years post-op. So wrist arthrodesis is a very important surgery or good surgery to remember in failed cases. It eliminates pain, provides stability, it corrects deformity, and in some other cases you can get donor tendons for flexor transfer. Most of the patients can do activities of daily living, but some tasks require functional adaptation like perineal care and use of wrist in tight space. So these are last two examples where unfortunately the malunion resulted in a tendon injury like this. A very dorsal collapse here in a patient treated with a plaster went on. Patient had a the extensor pollicis longus tendon got stuck up in the callus, and the thing ruptured, and this was treated. Or this is a very simple treatment is available. Don't do anything to the radius, just transfer the extensor indicis to the extensor pollicis longus, and you'll have a good result. Now this is another very vague case, but worth remembering. Is this patient, old lady with a long-standing distal radius non-union, malunion, and he presented with loss of all flexor activity. And when we opened it, we found that all the profundus tendons were stuck at the fracture site, and torn or attrition rupture was there. So this was treated with tendon transfer using the locally available intact flexors with proper tension, and a distal end of the ulna was excised in this case, and you can see that patient has recovered good hand function, even in fact good pronation supination also. So in conclusion, the decision to get operated for a distal radius fracture malunion has to be with the patient. Remember that restriction of pronation supination and dorsiflexion is quite disabling. Segmental resection of the ulna by doing an ulnar osteotomy is quite useful, and deformity of the radius is the least concerning thing. I thank you for your attention.